a big fan of basically the whole technique of faking it until you make it, right?
Okay.
And so basically, you know, I started my show like by the third episode, we were the world famous Urban Jungles Radio, you know, and it was great because people were buying into that shit, you know. So they were like, "Oh wow, you guys are heard all over the world. That's great," you know. And we were like, people were listening to us, but like in like fucking Yugoslavia or some shit, right? Like nobody cared.
That's global.
So, yeah, it was global, I guess, but it was the beginning of the internet. You know, this is the time when fucking people were like just discovering how to send dick pics and shit. So, the first couple episodes were like whatever, but like then I started making calls to places, and I was like, "Hey, yeah, you can check out our show. It's online, and this is Danny from WUJR, and out of New York City, and it was great. You know, people will fall for that shit and give me interviews, and I was next thing you know, I'm talking to like really prominent scientists and shit like that, you know. But I was able to hold my own conversation, which is what mattered. You know, I knew what I was talking about, and you know, was able to share with them and shit. So it became weird, man. It just snowballed, and eventually it actually became a thing. Like within the first few episodes, like people were listening, and we were getting invitations to go places, which was mind blowing. Like people were gonna pay us to fucking do what we were doing, you know, which is basically coming over to my house and like me getting shit faced because my friend Andy, as great as he was, unfortunately he was straight edge, right? So like I'd be the fucking smoking up, like taking bong rips and shit off camera all the time, and it was great, man. It was fucking great. We were getting all these guests, man, and then you know, next thing you know, we're getting like invitations, and this is another story I got to go back to later on, but we're getting invitations to go to shows, and like fucking Brian Potter from NARBC is calling me up, and he's like, "Yo, bro, you gotta come out. I heard your shit. Come on out, man. You gotta come out to the show. I want you to come out. Put you on a table. We'll set you up." I'm like, "Okay, cool." And I'm hanging up. I'm like fucking screaming like a girl, like, "Oh my god, Andy, Brian Potter wants us to come to NARBC Chicago or whatever." So, you know, I'll tell you that story now since we're here. Right?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, so man, so that was like fucking great. That was such a fucking highlight, man. Brian Potter like legit just invited me to come out to NARBC, right? And we come out there. Like we had done some cool shit up until that point, you know. We were interviewing cool people, and like it was probably like one of the first times Barcheck I put on anything really at the time. Which is funny. No, not true. He had snake bites, but nothing like podcast wise. So it was great. It was a really good time. And so we're set to go to NARBC, and we go to NARBC, and we fucking get there, and it's amazing, bro. Fucking amazing, right? We had to pay our way there, but you know, he threw us some chump shades, which was nice and mind blowing. You know that like we're actually fucking making some money on this, right?
Yeah, it's amazing.
This is like 2011. This is like 2011 or so, right? So shit was a whole fucking new world, man.
This is like barely like this is like literally when social media, like MySpace had just disappeared and it was just Facebook. Instagram had just started, right? But like
bro, all Kaufman had at the time was Herper's DVDs.
Wow.
There's nothing else. There's no internet. There's no YouTubers. There's none of that shit at the time. It was a crazy time. It was a good time. It was an interesting time. So anyway, so we fucking make it out, and we make it out to NARBC, and it's fucking amazing. Dude, Potter sets us up right at the door where you come in, like right next to the fucking door. We're the first thing you see when you come into NARBC, right? And of course, it's like a fucking platform, like a fucking launch. Everybody's there, everybody's interested in listening to it, or if they haven't listened already, which was shocking to me that people had actually heard about us already at that point and were listening, right? And so we set up next to a vendor right at the door. And at one point on Saturday, part of the deal was I was going to do a live broadcast, which is unheard of too. I had to fucking buy like a fucking ridiculous like hotspot router at the time, which I think ended up costing me like $50 a half hour, some stupid shit like that at the time. But it was the only way to get on the internet live, right? So whatever, we did it. And it was cool. It was fucking great. So we get online, and I'm doing my shit. And you know, we were always known at that point for being outrageous. And it's basically you know, kind of like what you do now. It's like you spoke freely, which was not a thing. Everybody was fucking very vanilla on the internet at the time.
Yeah.
And
it's still, I mean, to this day, like it's a lot more like, okay, you can be yourself, but bro, like I was telling you before, what I wanted to tell you when I first started this, oh my God, man, just because I was cussing and like I was getting called all this shit. Like, no one's going to watch your fucking druggy ass fucking, you're just a gimmick, blah, blah, blah. Like, well, it's just like, what's like, is this why people don't want to be themselves? Like, this is it? Like, because these fucking piece of shit fucking like little wannabe know-it-alls. So that just honestly, Danny, I did this not caring if it paid me or not. And, you know, I did it because I was like, I want to fucking learn more about this shit. I want to learn, you know what I mean? I want to learn more about people. Like, I want to know, you know, who's what, because how much, like, if I'm obsessed about something, Danny, I want to know the history. Like, I want to know the roots of it. Like, you know, like, and I'm like you. It's funny that, like, one thing I just fucking connected with you about earlier is when you said you were a kid, you were that guy who would just pick out nests in a roof, like, and nobody else would really be seeing it. I was like that too, bro. And I would like almost be purposely looking for like a bird's nest all the time. Like, I was so
spring was like hunting time. It was great, you know.
I loved it, you know. And this is why like my mom and dad are doing boring shit with their friends, and I would be in someone's backyard, like, you know, just fucking. I was always occupied of stuff like that. So when you said that, and I didn't really remember that now until you said that. So
yeah, it's, you know, it's nice. It's nice when you do something that you love. And my whole, like, kind of like you, I've heard you say this in your other shows that I've listened to. I think it's probably a Hispanic thing too, to be honest.
You listen to the show? I didn't know that.
Yeah, of course, man.
Thank you. That means a lot.
So like, I think a lot of times we'll hear people say like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? My whole life to date still, like my family, like my mom and shit. It's like, why do you play with animals all day long? You know, you don't get it, right? Like, I would rather like just barely scrape by and be able to play with animals than fucking do a 9-to-5 job. And it's curious, it's funny, right? Because going back, and that's why I asked you, I think, why your nationality was earlier, right? Because I'm Cuban. And most people don't realize that, and most people think I'm a white guy. And that early in my career,
right here, bro. Yeah, thank you. All day.
But that was a fucking big help in my early career, right? So like when I was a young kid, like when I was in college, like I landed a job working at a place where it was basically a Wall Street company, a Wall Street firm. And they hired me at the time. International markets were a huge thing at that time. It was Latin American emerging markets were a big thing, where American companies were buying into now newly open Latin American markets, which were like taking away taxes and stuff like that, right? So basically these places would come and they would call me and like to come in on these really important meetings and stuff and just have me sit in. Like they would just basically have me sit in, and they would basically have me sit in and listen in on these meetings that were super important to them, but they didn't want somebody else to know that they were being listened in on. So they would have me sit in on these meetings and just basically be a white guy, but I wasn't a white guy. So I could hear all the side banter and I could hear all the other things that were going on. So these companies basically hired me to be like this espionage guy. And it was great because I was making like so much money in Wall Street at that time. And that's when I made the decision to become a full-time animal guy and basically just be like, I can't live in a 9-to-5. I can't do a 9-to-5 in a cubicle. And I will do like, I just want to work with animals no matter what that takes. And that was a big eye opener for that. So
yeah, it's crazy you said that. It's eye opening for me you say that, because the only thing that pushed me to working a 9-to-5, and this is pre-animals, pre-snakes, throughout my 20s and 30, you know, when I was 30, it was the only thing that drove me to work was the money. Like I was good at sales, and bro, I mean, I don't care how good you are at sales. Every now and then, you gotta fucking fake the funk, and you gotta fucking be nice to people you don't want to be nice to. And I did that for so long that I just couldn't fucking fake it no more, dude. Like I almost lost being a good salesman because how fucking sick and tired I got tired of people, bro. And you gotta be a people person in sales. I'm still good at sales, but I gotta love what I'm selling. And I fucking got tired of fucking making someone else money. You know, I was number one in sales, everything I did. So who do you think was making all the money? The person I was working for. So at the end of the day, man, this hobby made me realize how big of a piece of shit people really are, but it made me also see there are good people out there too. Like there are people that I'm like, fuck, I would have never met this person if it wasn't for this hobby. So like I do have like another uplifting hope, like, you know, meeting you, like this is awesome. Like, you kidding me, bro? Like I probably would be a hermit if it wasn't for, you know what I mean, any of this. Because just people are fucked up, and I'm fucked up too. Like I'm not gonna say I'm Mr. fucking hey, and they're not wrong with me, but no, because I'm fucked up, I don't want to be around people either. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know.
people are fucked up too, especially when it comes to animals, and that's my issue.
Yeah.
I have zero tolerance for that, and
you've been around too, so a lot of this new shit you see, it's probably fucking goddamn just crawling on your skin.
Perfect example. Yeah, I can't even get into that yet, but perfect example. Like, okay, so let's go back to the whole NARBC thing, right? My first day at NARBC, it's fucking great. We're doing a live broadcast. I'm fucking loving it. We're getting all the attention. People are listening around the country. Thank you so much. This is really cool. We get to know what's going on, blah, blah, blah. So we're about like half hour into the show. And I look over to my right at the vendor to the right of me. And it's a guy who's selling geckos, leopard geckos mostly. He's got the typical deli cup setup, right? He's got the deli cup setup, and he's also got halogen lights over the deli cups. And literally in the middle of the broadcast, I look over and I'm noticing geckos flipping upside down in their deli cups from overheating.
Oh God.
So I can't shut the fuck up about this, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I'm talking about, I start talking about, like, bro, I can't believe I'm looking at this. This is really disappointing right now. I don't even know how to approach this. And then like, I literally went over to the guy on air and I was like, can you do something about those geckos? And you can hear him going, they're fine. They do that sometimes. I'm like, oh, no, the gecko should not be flipping out its fucking back, bro. And I lost my shit. And this is where I fell outside of being in the podcast graces. And this is where I got my reputation. It's kind of like, you know, Danny is a little bit of a double-edged sword in that sense, is that, like, I say what comes to mind, and I was just like fucking, I railed on this guy. I was like, this is ridiculous. If you're gonna have a fucking setup, don't have a fucking halogen light banging over to, you know, an animal. It's in a container, in another container. Like, someone's obviously not familiar with the fucking greenhouse effect, right? And I fucking went off, and whatever. I was on my throne. I felt so good about it. I fucking came to the biggest fucking reptile shows. I fucking gave my observations. I said my piece, whatever. That night, we went out. We partied hard. It was fucking great. The next day, like, everybody was miserable and hungover. We went home. Everybody was fucking hugging each other, crying. We had such a good time. Like, you know, everybody bonded so much at that show. And I get home and fucking I remember I'll never forget, I was with my family. I was with my kid, and I took him out to a playground. And I'm fucking like feeling good. Like, yeah, we just fucking rock Chicago, you know, Urban Jungles radio right now, this and that. And I fucking get the fucking buzzing in my pocket. And I look at it. It's fucking Potter.
Oh, shit.
Oh, shit. Oh, hey, Potter. Okay. Hey, man, what's up? He's like, bro, I gotta talk to you, bro. Like, what's the matter, man? He's like, bro,